here we have, this is our guy Roger again. And he's, I guess that's the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit is coming to him. So this first section that we're looking at is the devotional section. So these are the devotional texts. Most of the illuminations that have him, maybe all of them that have him in it, are actually in this devotional section, which makes sense because, right, devotion is like, here we are, we're praying, showing our devotion to God. And so it makes sense that in the medieval mind, this is a thing that you see a lot, right? So in another good example is in Books of Hours, where you often have the people who, the patrons who have the books made will have themselves painted in, usually in something like the crucifixion or not the crucifixion, but the one that comes after when you've got Jesus down off the cross and you're with Mary and that. So it's a very sort of typical thing to see. Let's see, let's find another one of these. I'm so intrigued by all of these marginal, probably citations. Let's see. Oh, here we go.
Cross-reference with
yeah. Okay, so here's another one of these. There we go. So this is, I'm not sure what that is. We've got angels and we've got God, and we have, here is our Roger, and this is actually, his name is written here. So, and he's there now, he's wearing blue. So he's got his different, oop, hold on, I saw something in the chat. Oh, good. Gold leaf is glittering. The page numbers, oh, I have a question about the page numbers in the top corner. So the page numbers are added later, probably, they look, here, let me zoom out, or I'll scoot this over so we can see it. Ooh, come on, you can do it. I really didn't like that. Come on, there we go. So these are the page numbers. Those look, so the manuscript was bound in the 17th century, and these look 17th century to me. So I'm sort of guessing that they were probably numbered at the time that it was rebound. That's my guess.
And one of the contents lists, I think, maybe.
Oh, and like one of the okay. And so Julie, who's here in the room with me, says that it also corresponds to one of the contents lists there. So the whole thing was sort of put together in the 17th century, and that's when those numbers were added. It sometimes you do find original foliation in manuscripts, but it's not really super common. So there, yeah, Bran says that there was a red manicule, and there was, and I thought about pointing it out, and then I didn't, and now we've lost it. But I think there was another, I think here, this isn't the one I think that we were talking about, because that looked really like a hand, but then there's this one here. And there's another one, there's a lot of manicules, but these red ones, that's really interesting. It's like some of the, let me see if I can again. I love this. Glasgow has these great, they've got these like big pillows sort of that the books are on. I think it's just the best. I love these pillows. What am I trying to do? Oh, I'm trying to show up here. So there's some sort of red that's coming along with some of these little notes that are being put in the margin. And so that could be maybe the same people who are adding that, or also just, you have the red ink on your pen and you're like, oh, I want to point this out. And so I'll do that in the margin. Let's see. Kelly is asking, would they have been used as a visual bookmark to mark certain passages? I think you're talking about the manicules. And yes, they were manicules, were like little hand-shaped pointers that are sort of pointing certain passages. Oh, the margin notes. Are they by Roger? I don't think Roger was the scribe. He didn't write this himself, did he?
I'm
I'm asking Julie because I feel like
he didn't write it as far as we know, but I mean, I think some of the marginal notes might be his.
his, yeah.
Some of the early ones, as it was a very personal compilation, and he also used text to write his own.
Oh,
his own
right.
work.
That's a good point. So
Yeah.
Julie is saying that he wasn't the
As far as we know.
yeah, he wasn't the scribe as far as we know, but since this was his personal copy, it's very likely that he did actually make some of the notes, but he wasn't, I don't think he's somebody that we would recognize his handwriting really. So let's see, how would you describe the script? I am not really a paleographer.
It's Anglican.
Like Anglicana? Yeah. All right, Anglicana, I am being told. All right, let's see what else we can find. I also wanted to point out that the parchment, one of the interesting things, or one of the things that I find particularly interesting about this manuscript, because I always kind of notice parchment, I'm very into the parchment of it, is that the parchment itself is not really nice parchment. It's not well prepared. There are a lot of edges that don't line up. So here's just another, oh, and there's our friend Roger there. Again, inserting himself. Oh, Jim is asking about a tear through the parchment. Yes, this has been, it looks like it's been cut. Well, this, it looks like this one to me. Oh, you can't see that, hold on. Oop, where'd we go? There we are. So this to me looks like it was something that happened when the parchment was made, maybe like a whole, and this is sort of what I was talking about, because and the text has been written around it. This behind it has been cut. That's been cut, but it still looks like the text was then written around the cut. So I'm not sure how that is. So Kelly's comment, so Roger went a bit cheap. He went cheap. Yes, the parchment is cheap, but the illumination is actually by a pretty well-known artist. There is another manuscript by the same artist or the same group of artists, I think in the British Library, and it's the Master of the Tameth Hours. So the artists were known. And so I like to think that he kind of had a budget, and it's like, what do you want to spend? And it's like when you buy a house, do you want a great neighborhood, or do you want, some like a good roof? I don't know what people want when they buy a house, but you sort of have your checks and balances, and it's like he wanted the text that he wanted, and he wanted this great artist, and he didn't care that it was going to be on parchment that maybe wasn't so great. So I think that's really interesting. And it's maybe my favorite thing about this really interesting manuscript is that fact that there's this example of this person making this kind of decision. So here he meets baby Jesus. Again, here's our friend Roger, and there's Jesus and Mary. And again, you can see they're holding this orb, holding the earth, the world, in his hands. So that's great. And here he is again. There, is that him? Yep, there he is down at the bottom. And this is a more sort of typical I keep calling it self-insert, but this sort of view of the person there in the image. And here is, I'm just going to show you this here. Here's what I'm saying about parchment that isn't really great. This parchment is kind of dark, and I'm gonna have the microphone here so you can hear it. That's what I call crunchy. That's crunchy parchment. Really nice parchment, and like you find in really great books of hours. Doesn't sound like that. It's very soft and doesn't make much of a noise. But this book is very noisy when you get when you get your ear very close to it. Let's see, here we have a hole that was made during when the manuscript was being produced that was just sewn up. Another sign of like not really great parchment. Let's see, how are we doing for time? What I want to do is stop and look at every one of these gorgeous little miniatures because they're all so interesting. So there's Roger again with Mary. And there was one, I don't think it was the one that we just, no, there is one of where Mary is actually breastfeeding Jesus, which is interesting because it's sort of an unusual thing to see. Although, oh, she is? Is that what she's holding? Okay. So she's got her breast in her hand. So she's holding her breast there. But then the other one, I know that she's actually breastfeeding. And it's interesting, the only other time that I'm sure it happens more frequently than this, but the only other time that I've seen that is in a book of hours that we have at Penn, which is Use of Mainz. So it's a German book of hours, Use of Mainz. And I've been told by Lisa Fagan Davis actually told me that's a way that you can sort of localize books of hours for Mainz, because they tend to have that as a thing. Virgo lactans, is that, so that's what Sarah says, is that the term for that? Virgo, yeah, so Mary, I love that. All right, so here we have, again, there he is with the angels and Mary, and this is not a breastfeeding one, but she's got the orb there. Let's see. Okay, here's more. Let me zoom out a little bit so we can see that better. So this is the first of 3 full-page illuminations that we have here. So this is Mary being crowned by Jesus. And again, we have Roger here, there at the bottom, really putting himself in there. Here is the second one. This is great. So we have Jesus at the top, and then let's see, the world, Adam and Eve down at the bottom. And then we have Roger. Are they both Roger? So we have Roger twice here, wearing different frocks. So so there he is. I think that's just the best thing. I think that's great. And these are the world, the spheres around the world. So you have Earth, and then water, and all the way out. So that's a pretty typical one. And then here we go. Here's the breastfeeding one. There. Oop. There we go. And there he is again, down below, by himself. Let's see. Nice. So we only have 5 minutes left, and we're still, I think, in the first part of the manuscript. So let's keep moving on. Well, here, I'm going to take a look at my collation model. So the reason I'm here is because I've been looking at manuscripts from the collection, not just to look at them, but to make models of them that we can then sort of look at as to help us sort of understand how the book is put together. And so I'm just quickly showing you the model that I built for this one. because now we can see, so we're now on page 100, or folio, no, this is paginated. We're on page 100. So if we come down here to page 100, we're at the start of this section. So now we've moved on, and we're now in Seneca, the sort of middle portion, I think. So we have the spurious correspondence of St. Paul and Seneca, and we're going to have more Seneca coming up for a bit. Let's see, we have Seneca until 274, page 274. And then we're going to have Aristotle, and that's where we're going to have this full page illumination. So let's go back and head towards page 274. Share that again. Let's see, and there's a link to that in the links that I put in the chat at the start. So as we go, I'll just zoom out, and you'll see that there will be more. Oop, out. There we go. All right, and we'll see. I'll just sort of page through, and we'll see if we see anything else along the way. More of these marginal notes. Here again is Roger. He's being lectured at by, I'm guessing that's going to be Seneca, since we're in the Seneca section. This is a pretty typical thing. So let's keep moving. I love how crunchy this parchment is. It's just really fun. And these other, they're not fancy, like they're not illuminated, but I just love the initials with the sort of pen work around them. Here's a lot of manicules there, and a lot of these pages haven't been trimmed so far, so you can actually still see the prick marks, these little holes in the edge. That's how you get the straight lines across, is you would prick the edges, and then draw lines across, or make lines across to get there. Here's an ugly, oh no, there we go. Sorry, I was being too fast. Here's some ugly parchment. I just wanted to point out the ugly parchment in this gorgeous manuscript. I don't think I'll ever get over that. Let's see, 185. Where did I say I was heading for? To something. I'm not paying attention to chat. There we go.
274.
274. Thank you. All right.
Welcome.
I don't want to keep you guys. So let's keep going. So we're still in Seneca. He really liked Seneca. Oh, and that was the other thing. That he actually, one of the reasons that Roger of Waltham is known is because he wrote his own sort of compilation of texts, and some of the texts that are included in that are also from this book. So it sort of feels like he put this together and then used it as a basis for his own work. So that's pretty neat. Okay, so you can see that here we are. We're at the end of Seneca. We're gonna go into Aristotle, and here is our last great initial. And you can see here we have Plato and Seneca and Aristotle, and they're all hanging out. And oddly enough, Roger himself is not actually in this. You almost expect him to like be peeking around behind a corner, but maybe he's the one making the painting. I don't know. But this is
Seneca looks like him.
Oh, Seneca. Julia is saying that Seneca kind of looks like him, and you know what? He kind of does. So Seneca in the middle kind of does. So yeah, they all kind of look like him actually in different ways. So maybe it's another old insert. I think this is great. Okay, so it is actually 5:30, and I do realize we've only made it like halfway through, but we made it through devotional stuff, and we made it through Seneca, which was very important. We looked at some of these fantastic little illuminations. learned about Roger. I do encourage you to read, take a read at that blog post. I'll put the links in again here if you didn't see that the first time. I'll just get these links here. And if this was your first copy with a Codex, I hope it was fun. I didn't record all of this, unfortunately, but what I have, I will be posting to our YouTube channel. All of our previous events are also on YouTube since this year. So thanks very much for coming. And we'll see you hopefully next week when our graduate student, Catherine, will be on board. Bye. Thank you.